You are about to see a video on vacupress, a vacuum veneer pressing system. But what this video is really about is the versatility of vacuum veneering and laminating, the uncommon solution to architectural millwork, fine furniture, musical instruments, cabinetry, antique restoration, and marquetry. In fact, once you see how beautifully veneers can be used, there is no end to the creative woodworking process. And if you are already veneering and laminating, you'll see how vacuum pressing can make this task easier and more versatile. Hello, I'm Darrell Keel, President of Vacuum Pressing Systems. I've always enjoyed working with wood, and as a cabinet maker, I've continually searched for ways to enhance my skills and increase my shop's capabilities. It wasn't that many years ago when I had to pass up most veneering jobs. Not having a conventional steel plate press limited my bidding on some pretty nice jobs. Then I developed my vacuum press. I call it vacupress. Vacuum pressing really changed my business. It allowed me to be totally creative in my designs, as well as take on work that I had missed out on before, and complete very difficult veneering jobs in an efficient, profitable manner. In this video, I will show you, first, how a vacuum press works, and I will show you just how much pressure is created by vacuum. Second, I will demonstrate its versatility by showing you a wide variety of items veneered with the system. Third, I'll actually do some veneering to show you just how it's done step by step. Finally, I'll show you a variety of pumps, bags, and accessories and discuss how to select the vacuum pressing system that will work best for your shop. As you can see, there's a lot to do, so let's get started. The main obstacle to working with veneer has always been the ability to press it. And the common method is by mechanical clamping force, either a conventional steel plate press, a homemade shop press, or just regular clamps. A vacuum press uses two very different principles. First is atmospheric pressure, as a giant clamp, 14.7 pounds of pressure per square inch on everything. When you draw a vacuum in a closed container, the pressure becomes an enormous force over its entire surface. Let me demonstrate. I have this board which is about 14 by 16 inches. If this board was in the vacuum bag, you would exert well over a ton of pressure over its entire surface. Let me show you a demonstration that may help convince you just how much force we're talking about. Let me take that panel and place it on two blocks. I'll stand on it. Now I only weigh about 135 pounds, and as you can see, I hardly flex it. Now let me place that panel on the same blocks in the vacuum press. Close the bag. Turn on the pump, and now watch what happens. Now how's that for a demonstration of clamping pressure of the atmosphere? Now that you've seen the power of atmospheric pressure, let me describe the second principle. When you draw a vacuum, air is evacuated from the cells of both the veneer and the substrate, so that these cells actually draw the glue in, giving you good penetration. Here are two electron microscope images showing the glue line thickness and penetration. The sample on the left was pressed with mechanical clamping pressure of 50 psi. The sample on the right was pressed with the vacupress system. You can see the glue line thickness and penetration is equal with both samples. The reason that the vacupress works so well is that it combines two forces rather than just one. And that takes me to one more point. The pressure is always uniform over the entire surface. The weight of the atmosphere is bearing down on all surfaces equally. There are never any hot spots in a vacuum press where pressure is greater in one area than in another. Even if the veneer or substrate varies in thickness, the vacuum pressing pressure will always be uniform. Now that you've seen how vacuum pressing works, let me show you some examples of what it can do. Of course, it's great for veneering flat panels. In a minute, I'll demonstrate from start to finish how easy this is to do. Here are several pieces of furniture: a curly koa tabletop, babinga and rosewood coffee table, and a walnut buffet. Just a few of the hundreds of premium veneers that can be beautifully integrated into high-scale cabinetry and furniture. Here's a flat panel of walnut burl. It's absolutely flat, even though the raw veneer is very uneven and fragile. To veneer this and other burls without a veneer press would be next to impossible. While the vacuum press does great on flat panels, where it really demonstrates its versatility is with curved work. For example, this is a 12-inch by 7-foot column of maple burl veneer. Here's a 2-inch cove molding, where I've veneered Macassar ebony into the cove over the right angles, both edges, all in one simple operation, without scoring or piecing the strips together. Here's a real attractive example. It's a bow front drawer front of a desk with a mahogany center panel, an ebony inlay, and then a satinwood border. All of these elements, the veneer, face and back, several pieces of core ply, were assembled all in one shot. That's the beauty of the vacuum press. Here are some more examples. You get the idea. Remember what I said at the beginning of the program. With a vacuum veneering, you are only limited by your imagination. And we're not just limited to using veneers. Most cabinet makers use plastic laminates. If vacuum pressing does such a great job with veneers, think of what it will do with plastic laminates. Like this radiused end panel for kitchen cabinets. Or this glossy black half round. You get uniform pressure with the vacuum press. Plus, you can use regular woodworking glues and say goodbye to contact adhesive. Many people use it for clamping solid wood as well. Here I have 2 4/4 boards that will be glued into one 8/4 board. Here's a case where it's not veneer work, but it's walnut bent laminations on this chair back. Or this mahogany window jamb. And it's one more reminder that the vacuum press is a giant clamp. If you're like me and countless other woodworkers, it allows you to expand your thinking, your creativity and craft, and your business. And if you're part of a larger shop, vacuum clamping can be a versatile problem solver. I've shown you some examples. Now let me show you the step-by-step process. First, I'll veneer a flat panel. This will be a 4-way matched walnut burl door. I'm using a 3/4 inch MDF material for the body of the panel because it's extremely flat and dimensionally stable. I've already edge banded the sides with solid walnut, and I've matched the veneers to size, leaving about an 1/8 inch overlap, which I'll trim away after gluing. The vacuum press consists of an airtight vacuum bag, a self-cycling pump, and a hose connecting the two together. I'll show you parts of the system at the end of this video. In the bag, I have a platen that serves as a work surface. I've made this platen out of melamine-coated particle board, in which I cut shallow grooves to allow uniform air evacuation. I've made a number of these platens of different sizes to handle a variety of jobs. The brass fitting on the end of the hose connects to the underside of the bag to this molded nipple. It is then inserted up into the platen, locking the platen and the bag together. I purposely have chosen this small platen to demonstrate the adjustability of the system. Even though this bag has a pressing capacity of 4 by 8 feet, I can set it up to any size by taking the adjustable C-channel closure, moving it down the bag, snap it close to the end of my platen, and roll the extra bag up to the closure. My panel door is a sandwich made up of a face side and a backer veneer, the MDF substrate, and a caul for the front and back. These cauls help keep the veneer flat and help keep glue squeeze out from getting on the bag. The elements of the sandwich are prepared, so it's time to apply the glue. I'll roll it on one side of the MDF panel. Now I'll place the backside veneer on the door. And flip it over onto the caul. Now I'll spread the glue on the front side of the MDF surface. Now I'll place the top walnut burl onto the panel. You can see that I've used standard veneer tape to hold these pieces together, just as you would with traditional veneering. And I'll take the sandwich and I'll flip it over onto the bottom caul. My sandwich is ready to place in the vacuum press. I'll just use several pieces of drafting tape to hold my sandwich in place. If you notice, the bottom caul does not need to be sized to the workpiece, as it is against the platen and the bag cannot snap its edges. Now I'm going to slide the sandwich into the bag. Now I'm going to close the bag using the vacuum press's closure system. And then I turn on the vacuum press pump. Take a close look at the bag. The air is being drawn out of the bag, and the bag is pressing down evenly over all the surface. It doesn't take long before full vacuum is reached. The vacuum press pump will shut itself off when it reaches full vacuum and automatically cycle as necessary to maintain the vacuum during the pressing period. Several hours have passed, and I can now turn off the pump and take off the closure. That buckled veneer is absolutely flat, a testimony to the ability of vacuum pressing to press even the most difficult buckled veneers. That's it for flat panel veneering. Easy, isn't it? That's the beauty of the system. Simply roll out as much of the bag as you need, place the work in the bag, and let the vacuum do its work. And just as simple as it was to do one flat panel, I could have put a number of panel sandwiches into the bag to be pressed all at once. Here is how it would look. I would place in one section of the bag similar sized doors on top of each other, then drawer fronts and other sized doors at other points in the bag. Most custom shops don't have or need a permanent veneer pressing area. The vacuum press is easily disassembled. Pull the platen out of the bag, disconnect the hose, and roll the bag up. The complete vacuum